That bottle of rum sitting on your shelf, gathering dust, or waiting for a special occasion. It's far more than just a party starter or a simple spirit to mix in your favorite cocktail. It's a distilled and potent history of empires, a liquid narrative of global power. Each sip carries echoes of the past, revolutions fueled by the very product it would become, an unspeakable human suffering, a dark undercurrent that taints its sweetness. The story of rum is inextricably linked to the exploitation of countless individuals. Rum began as a humble byproduct of sugar production, a way to make use of the molasses left behind. It underwent a remarkable transformation from waste, a discarded residue, into a global force, a commodity that shaped economies and destinies. It was currency, a medium of exchange in a world hungry for goods and power. Medicine, a supposed cure-all for ailments both real and imagined, offering solace, and sometimes false hope. And a tool of control, wielded by those in power to maintain their grip on society and suppress dissent. It was a reward, a bribe, and a means of subjugation. It played a pivotal role, shaping the world in ways we rarely consider, its influence woven into the very fabric of our global society. But before rum could become the potent spirit we know, there was sugarcane, the unassuming source of it all. Sugarcane, a simple sweet grass, seemingly innocuous, yet its journey spans continents and centuries, leaving an indelible mark on human history. Early civilizations, recognizing its inherent sweetness, chewed the stalks and laboriously pressed the juice. They stumbled upon its magical tendency to ferment, transforming into a primitive wine, a slightly alcoholic and surprisingly palatable beverage. This rudimentary concoction was the ancestor of rum, the precursor to the spirit that would eventually conquer the world. It was a humble, local pleasure, enjoyed in small communities, a far cry from the globally traded and often controversial spirit that it would become. Not yet the spirit that would change the world. Back then, no one could have possibly predicted that this unassuming plant would one day become the backbone of a global industry, driving economies and shaping international relations. The journey from that simple fermented cane juice to the complex and diverse rums we savor today is a captivating story of agricultural innovation, trade across vast oceans and continents, and the relentless human ingenuity that transformed a simple byproduct into a global phenomenon. The secret of the cane was out, its potential unleashed, and the world would never be quite the same. To truly understand rum, to appreciate its complexities and nuances, is to understand a crucial and often uncomfortable part of how our modern world came to be, acknowledging both its sweetness and its bitter legacy. Long before European ships dared to cross the vast expanse of the Atlantic, charting unknown waters and connecting distant continents, sugarcane, a humble yet vital plant, was already being cultivated and ingeniously fermented in ancient India. The process, shrouded in the mists of time, involved extracting the sweet juice and allowing it to transform through natural fermentation. The knowledge and practice of sugarcane fermentation also took root and flourished in ancient China, independently developing alongside the Indian traditions. These parallel innovations highlight the universal human drive to harness nature's bounty and create something new. The resulting drink, often called brum or a similar local name, was undoubtedly rustic and potent, a far cry from the sophisticated spirits we enjoy today. Imagine the raw, untamed flavors, a testament to the ingenuity of early brewers. It was a world away from today's meticulously crafted and refined spirits, aged in oak barrels and enjoyed in elegant glasses. The journey from those early concoctions to modern rum is a story of continuous refinement and innovation. It was more than just a drink. It was a local tradition, deeply woven into the fabric of community life. These beverages were often consumed during celebrations, rituals, and gatherings, strengthening social bonds. It was a way to capture the very essence of the sugarcane, transforming its sweetness into a drink that embodied the spirit of the land and the people. Each sip was a connection to the earth and the traditions of generations past. As trade routes expanded, Arab traders played a crucial role in spreading sugarcane westward, carrying its seeds and cultivation techniques across vast distances. They were instrumental in bringing both the plant itself and the invaluable knowledge of fermentation processes to new and receptive lands, fostering a global exchange of agricultural and brewing expertise. These early drinks, while derived from sugarcane, weren't quite the rum as we know it today. The distillation techniques were still rudimentary, and the aging processes were yet to be developed. They were more akin to raw, unaged wines, possessing a simpler and perhaps harsher character than their modern counterparts, or perhaps even closer to early forms of beers, relying on basic fermentation methods to unlock the alcohol within the sugarcane. The art of distillation, a key element in the creation of true rum, was still in its relative infancy, with only the most primitive stills available for experimentation. But the fundamental idea, the spark of innovation, was already planted. The realization that, for sugarcane, with the right techniques, could be transformed into a potent and enjoyable alcoholic beverage. This was a pivotal moment in the history of rum. These ancient experiments, though rudimentary by today's standards, laid the essential groundwork for the development of rum as we know it, setting the stage for future innovations and refinements. The inherent human desire to create alcohol from the sweet bounty of sugarcane is a practice steeped in deep historical roots, stretching back millennia and reflecting a rich tapestry of cultural heritage and ingenuity. All this happened long before the Caribbean islands rose to prominence as the undisputed epicenter of rum production, a testament to the drink's long and winding journey through history. These early sips, these ancient concoctions, were merely the prologue to rum's grand and epic narrative, a quiet and unassuming beginning to a story that would eventually transform the world of spirits and leave an indelible mark on global culture. The year is 1493. Christopher Columbus, on his second voyage to the Americas, wasn't just seeking gold and spices. He carried with him something far more transformative, though he couldn't have fully grasped its future implications. Among the supplies and hopeful treasures, he brought sugarcane cuttings to the Caribbean islands. These seemingly simple plants held the potential to reshape economies, societies, and even the course of history. Columbus was unknowingly planting the seeds of a global empire, an empire built on sugar. Little did he know that this humble cargo would fuel a complex web of trade, exploitation, and innovation that would span continents and centuries. The introduction of sugarcane to the New World marked a pivotal moment, setting in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the landscape of the Caribbean and beyond. The Caribbean's climate was perfect, a tropical paradise with fertile soil, abundant sunshine, and consistent rainfall. These ideal conditions provided the perfect environment for sugarcane to thrive, far exceeding expectations. Sugarcane flourished, growing taller and sweeter than anything Columbus or his crew could have imagined. The plant quickly adapted to its new home, promising bountiful harvests and untold riches. And European colonists, ever eager for new sources of wealth, quickly saw immense profit in this sweet commodity. The demand for sugar in Europe was insatiable, and the Caribbean offered the perfect opportunity to meet that demand on a massive scale. Sugar became a luxury in Europe, a status symbol enjoyed by the wealthy and powerful. It graced the tables of aristocrats, sweetened their tea, and adorned their elaborate desserts. The demand for sugar fueled a burgeoning industry, transforming the Caribbean into a vast agricultural powerhouse, and the islands transformed into vast plantations, sprawling landscapes dedicated solely to the cultivation of sugarcane. These plantations became the engine of the Caribbean economy, driving trade and shaping the social and political landscape of the region. This prosperity, however, came at a horrific cost, a dark underbelly that would forever stain the history of sugar production. The insatiable demand for cheap labor to work the cane fields led to unimaginable suffering and injustice. Indigenous populations were decimated, wiped out by disease, forced labor, and the brutal realities of colonial rule. Their ancestral lands were seized, their cultures suppressed, and their very existence threatened by the relentless expansion of the sugar industry. And to replace the lost labor force, the transatlantic slave trade began, a horrific chapter in human history. Millions of Africans were forcibly uprooted from their homes, packed onto ships, and transported across the ocean to a life of enslavement in the Caribbean. Millions of Africans were forced to work the cane fields, enduring backbreaking labor under the scorching sun, with little food, no rest, and constant threat of violence. Their lives were reduced to mere commodities, their humanity stripped away in the pursuit of profit. Linking Europe's sweet tooth to unimaginable suffering, a stark contrast between the luxury enjoyed by some and the brutal reality endured by so many others. Every grain of sugar consumed in Europe carried with it the weight of human misery and exploitation. The sugar-making process left behind molasses, a thick, dark syrup that was a byproduct of extracting sugar from the cane, a sticky, dark byproduct, often considered a waste product with little to no value. It was messy, difficult to handle, and seemed to offer no further benefit. Plantation owners focused solely on maximizing sugar production, saw it as waste, a nuisance to be discarded without a second thought. They were blind to the potential hidden within this seemingly useless substance. But enslaved people, resourceful and resilient in the face of adversity, saw potential where others saw only refuse. They possessed a deep understanding of the land and its resources, and they were always searching for ways to improve their lives, even in the most difficult circumstances. In this unwanted sludge, this seemingly worthless byproduct of the sugar-making process, lay the key to something entirely new. They found the beginnings of something new, experimenting with fermentation and distillation techniques, driven by ingenuity and a desire to create something of their own. The Caribbean's paradise became a crucible of innovation and exploitation, a place where immense wealth was generated alongside unimaginable suffering. It was a region of stark contrasts, where beauty and brutality coexisted in a complex and often unsettling harmony. From waste, from the discarded remnants of the sugar industry, something remarkable was about to emerge. A new kind of magic was about to be born, a spirit that would capture the essence of the Caribbean and spread its influence around the world. The stage was set for rum, a spirit born from the ingenuity and resilience of enslaved people, a testament to their ability to create something extraordinary from the most humble of beginnings. Rum's birth was an act of resourcefulness by enslaved workers in Barbados during the 1640s. They fermented discarded molasses, then distilled it into a raw, fiery spirit, Kill Devil, later known as rum. For the enslaved, it was a fleeting escape. For plantation owners, a new source of profit. Early rums were harsh and untamed, but their high alcohol content made them valuable and easy to transport. Rum quickly became a staple for sailors, soldiers, and settlers. The story of rum's origin is one of creativity under oppression and immediate appropriation by those in power. Every bottle from historic islands like Barbados carries this dual legacy. Rum is a spirit born of suffering and ingenuity, a drink that represents both defiance and exploitation. Its journey from waste to wealth would soon reshape the world. Rum became the engine of the triangle trade, a cycle connecting Europe, Africa, and the Americas. European goods were traded for enslaved Africans who were shipped to the Caribbean to work sugar plantations. Molasses from these plantations was sent to New England, where it was distilled into rum. Rum was then traded in Africa for more enslaved people, perpetuating the brutal cycle. Rum wasn't just a drink, it was currency fueling the slave trade and enriching merchants. The spirit's rise was paid for with human lives. Understanding rum's history means confronting its role in this dark chapter. The story of rum is inseparable from the story of exploitation. New England perfected rum production, importing molasses and turning it into a booming industry. By the 1770s, rum was central to the colonial economy, nearly 4 gallons per person per year. Distilleries dotted the landscape, and rum became a major export and a staple in daily life. British attempts to tax molasses sparked widespread smuggling and resistance. These economic battles over rum and molasses fueled the revolutionary spirit. Slogans like "No taxation without representation" were born from these grievances. Rum played a direct role in the fight for American independence. The humble spirit helped ignite a revolution. The British Royal Navy made rum legendary with the daily tot, a ration for every sailor. Rum replaced beer in 1731, prized for its stability and morale-boosting effects. Admiral Vernon diluted the rum with water, creating grog, and later added lime juice to fight scurvy. The daily tot became a cherished ritual, spreading rum's fame across the globe. As the British Empire expanded, so did rum's reach, from Asia to Australia. Splice the main brace became a call for celebration. The tradition ended in 1970, but its legacy endures. The Royal Navy transformed rum from a colonial commodity into a global spirit. Rum's story is forever linked to the sea and the power of empire. In the 19th century, rum's rough reputation changed forever, thanks to innovation and in Cuba. Don Facundo Bacardi revolutionized rum with new techniques: special yeast, charcoal filtration, and column stills. The result was a lighter, smoother spirit, perfect for cocktails like the daiquiri and mojito. Bacardi's modern style defined rum for a new era, while distilleries like Mount Gay in Barbados preserved the rich traditional styles. Rum evolved into a spectrum, from light and crisp to funky Jamaican and grassy rum agricole. This diversity elevated rum from sailor's grog to a spirit for connoisseurs. The modernization and heritage of rum set the stage for its 21st century resurgence. Rum became a world of flavor, history, and innovation, and today, rum is experiencing a renaissance. Rediscovered by bartenders and drinkers alike, the craft cocktail movement and tiki revival have showcased rum's complexity and versatility. Rum tourism is booming, connecting visitors to the history and culture of the Caribbean. Yet, as we celebrate rum's vibrant present, we must acknowledge its painful past, rooted in colonialism and slavery. Many brands now strive to tell the full story, honoring the ingenuity of the enslaved and the spirit's true origins. Every glass of rum connects continents, cultures, and centuries of history. Rum's story is a microcosm of our world: globalization, innovation, and the quest for justice. Next time you pour a glass, remember the hidden histories swirling within.